Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode 22 of the phenomenon known to mankind as Saturday afternoon's main event. Whether you are dumb, stupid, blind, or just plain irrelevant and you do not know who in the blue hell I am, I suggest you go back to school, go into your local library, get the biggest dictionary you can find, preferably Merriam-Webster, and look me up under the word phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the phenomenal, and in here on Same I'm Not Alone, because of course I have my co-host, my brother from another mother, and to mention the one and only limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, woo, son of a gun who is not having a hard time holding his alligators down. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, give me 2 claps and a peep snake.
Woo!
There we go.
There we go. This is how we do every Saturday afternoon. And of course, it's like the starting gates. We got the Indianapolis 500. And of course, you can't do that without starting with the 3 tenets for every great Saturday afternoon. It's laughs,
absolutely, peeps,
good times, and all the wrestling news possible. There you go.
Absolutely, peeps. Absolutely. How you doing today, man?
I am good.
Okay. No problem. But look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we do have our other co-host, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the host of Morton's Law, located on YouTube. You can go ahead and follow him on Twitter as well, at Morton's Law. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Mr. 411 Christopher Morton. Chris, how you doing today, man?
I'll tell you this. So allergies are the worst. Okay, so last week I couldn't make it and just knocked me out. It's kind of like the equivalent of having a wife or a girlfriend. They just beat you up all the time, and that's their purpose. That's it. There's no other purpose.
Chris, we missed you, man.
But here's the good news. I'm doing a lot better than the Knicks. So, let's.
Of course. I think a lot of people are doing a lot better than the Knicks, and this is coming from a Knicks fan. But I digress. There you go. First one of the day.
Did he just have to bring it up? Thanks a lot, man. Thanks
a lot.
There
you go.
Jeez.
Yes. Leave it up to Christopher Morton to bring a smile to the face of every Knicks fan.
Totally a smile, right? But it's okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. We're not here to talk about basketball. We're not here to talk about the playoffs. But we are here to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that is the glorious world of professional wrestling. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, strap in your seatbelts, load up the rocket with the rocket fuel, and let's go ahead and take this show to a whole nother level. Ladies and
Wrestling
gentlemen,
holiday.
But look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you are joining us here on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, we appreciate you guys for going ahead and chiming in. If you want to go ahead and be a part of all of the action here on Saturday afternoon's main event, all you got to do is one thing and one thing only. Follow us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons _main event. Follow us on Twitter at Saturday Main. And follow us on TikTok at Saturday Afternoons ME. We have plenty of wrestling news located on there. Plenty of memes for you guys to go ahead and enjoy, full of laughter and just all things professional wrestling. So look, we're not going to go ahead and waste any time. Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this sound, it means it's time for one thing and one thing only. Peeps, brace yourself, because ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is time for Wrestling Crash Course. So I know you guys are thinking, what can be talked about in the world of professional wrestling today? Well, plenty of stuff happened this week, and we're going to go ahead and kick off Wrestling Crash Course today with the first piece of wrestling news. Ladies and gentlemen, Wrestlemania 42 will no longer be emanating from the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. This week, WWE announced the news. Well, not exactly WWE, but New Orleans News went ahead and reported that the New Orleans government will no longer be holding the event next year, April 2026, April 11 and April 12, I believe. They went ahead and then moved it to a presumed later location when it will be announced in the future. It was speculated that maybe Saudi got a hand on it. It was speculated that maybe WrestleMania would go to Wembley Stadium in London, UK. But of course, we got the news that instead of WrestleMania, New Orleans will be getting Money in the Bank next year in the year 2026. And the rumors are now swirling around that the bidding for WrestleMania 42 is now up, and the people who now claimed it is once more Las Vegas, Nevada. Peeps, we go to you first. How do you feel about this?
I think it's good for the people that want to go back to Vegas, that have been to Vegas and have liked the actual atmosphere of WrestleMania being in Vegas. I think for those that live in the area that maybe didn't get a chance to see WrestleMania this past WrestleMania season, get the chance next year. But this sucks for those that are trying to hold on to a little bit of money and those that are actually in the New Orleans area that were expecting WrestleMania to be there. This is very similar to what happened. If you recall, this year's WrestleMania was supposed to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, until it was changed at the last minute to come to Vegas. So those people that were waiting in Minnesota, I guess those people kind of know how it feels. I'm also of the mindset of thinking of what WrestleMania is going to become going forward. I would not be surprised, because this smacks to me of a straight TKO move, is that they are promoting WrestleMania, since the WWE is now owned by TKO, are running it like TKO. A good chunk of UFC shows are starting to emanate more often from Vegas. We know a lot of people that are in the Vegas area that work within the WWE like that idea of Vegas being there. And I would not be surprised if we start to see a deviance from what we normally would see as far as WrestleMania going to so many different places all the time. And I can envision a WrestleMania mindset, a way they would do bookings for WrestleManias, where if it's one of those years where you see Vegas not having, let's say, the Final Four, or Vegas not having a Super Bowl, or Vegas not having a huge big time event that would bring people there, I could see TKO saying, well, WrestleMania this year is going to be back in Vegas. I can see that happening. And I think that that's kind of the mindset of where TKO is positioning WrestleMania as far as a content creation market for what they're doing with the WWE and what they're positioning going forward.
Absolutely. Chris, how do you feel about this?
Here's the question. Why? Why did New Orleans lose this? What do we know? Do we know anything?
So from what we know, previous is to held with what history was, has perceived ourselves, when Minneapolis gained the chance to go ahead and get WrestleMania this year, what we found out was that the Minneapolis government held one of their town hall meetings, and they ended up going ahead and saying that they no longer held the bid to WrestleMania because they were outbid. The outbidder, of course, was Las Vegas. And they ended up going ahead and announcing that WrestleMania would go ahead and take place in Vegas probably about a couple of weeks later. Within this is pretty rare because, of course, they announced it prior. It was something that was already told to us since February that WrestleMania would take place in New Orleans. We've never had a significance like this. The closest thing probably to this was WrestleMania 7 being held at the Los Angeles Coliseum, And
It's also be at the Coliseum, yes.
And of course, with the whole Sergeant Slaughter Gulf War storyline and Vince kind of being scared of security because he didn't feel that Slaughter would be protected well enough because he was getting death threats for that storyline. And they moved it to the Los Angeles Sports Complex. But
that part of the story is also kind of fallacy because the main reason why that happened was because their ticket sales were not as good as they thought it was going to be. Vince decided to mitigate the current affairs of what was going on and use that under the guise of, well, security, et cetera, et cetera. They were supposed to get, I believe, they were looking for something like 90,000 people. Because if I'm not mistaken, the LA Coliseum could do well over 100,000. They didn't get anywhere near that. So they moved it to a smaller venue on that one.
So that was one of the cases. But of course, they kept it in city. It wasn't like they changed it out. It wasn't like they were saying, well, you know what, we're not getting good ticket sales. We're going to go ahead and move this to the Garden. They went ahead and they kept the location. I feel as if this is something that just has to do with TKO possibly getting more money from Vegas to hold the event. So they were like, okay, you know what? We're getting more money from them. We made a whole tons of money this year. Let's go ahead and go back. I feel that's
so you're saying you believe, because I don't think it's known what TKO did this to New Orleans and New Orleans wanted out of it, which we don't know. Do we know?
No, because New Orleans even stated within their town hall meeting that they wanted to host the event and that they were told that they would go ahead and get the event sooner or later because they love having a working relationship with the WWE. So obviously, this shows that this wasn't New Orleans bidding to go ahead and pull out of the deal. This had to be WWE sitting there looking at the logistics, getting another bid from Las Vegas and saying to themselves, well, we can go back to back. Why not?
Yeah.
We've held it in.
That would be the case. That's the first time that this happened since WrestleMania 4 and 5 when they emanated from Atlantic City, the Trump Tower. Trump Plaza, I should say. So that's a long time ago.
But peeps, you also got to remember that at least they announced it. At least it was the deal that was set in stone. One of the things that I believe, as much as he gets as much bad rep, and he is a-hole, he is a pain in the neck, he is a POS, I don't think this would be a Vince move. Vince would never go ahead and do something like this. Going ahead and actually stating where an event like WrestleMania would take place, and then going ahead and changing it months into it. Because for what we know, airplane ticket costs can go ahead and go up within the next couple of months. There are people who hear the location, who hear the dates, and they go ahead and they buy their airplane tickets right then and there. Some people are already probably started booking hotels. Some people are, as you said, peeps, were already anticipating for this event to take place. And now they hear that this is not going to happen, and it's going straight to Las Vegas again. Once more, Chris, I feel as if this is TKO's bidding. They just saw the money and they ran.
Listen, I just hope over time WWE fans push back, especially if the ticket prices are going to remain what they are right now. I mean, I know for SummerSlam, right, the numbers are lower. Is that true? I know we had talked about that briefly.
Yes.
The prices are
a little lower. A little
lower.
lower.
Continue because, I mean, look, going to Vegas, we know how expensive it is. We were there. It's crazy.
Exactly. So it's just like when you sit there and you look at logistics, you look at price-wise, you look at finances, and it's like they're turning WrestleMania into the Super Bowl price rise. Yeah. And it's just like, you know, you sit there and you look at that and you're like, you're pricing out the average fan. People who want to go to these events, who were able to go to these events in the past, aren't able to go ahead and do it now due to the fact that TKO is now looking at revenue and looking at all these things. And they're like, we can get record gates. We can do this and do that. And just to say, record gates aren't cool when you consistently do it on a consistent basis.
Wait, but they can get a record gate in the Superdome also. They can actually surpass the Vegas gate.
Of course.
Exactly.
Especially if you're spending twice or three times the amount on tickets. And I think that's what TKO, the end game was for them here, is the fact that we've inflated the value of what a WrestleMania ticket would be for the entire weekend, for the entire Hall of Fame, once again, doing an NXT show there for Stand and Deliver, getting all of the attention going into WrestleMania weekend, and then using that and leveraging it to get even more money out of the paying public. And at this point, all of the things that are considered entertainment hobbies, something people like to buy music. Some people like to go out to concerts, go out to see wrestling. Those kinds of things are all going up. And at this point, those people that are usually used to doing something that would have been affordable, it's getting harder and harder to justify the cost right now.
Exactly.
You saying, Chris?
Yeah, no, I said there's some entertainment values. I mean, people pay for midget porn, you know.
I don't know if that's ever going to go up or not. I don't know. Oh boy,
man, what are we going to do with you? But look, we'll go ahead and continue to analyze and navigate where this story goes. Like I said, it is just a rumor that WrestleMania might be going to Vegas next year. Who knows what might happen? Like you said, Chris, in our group chat, it might go ahead and actually go to Wembley. Other people may think it might go to Saudi. God, please no. But whatever the case may be, we'll go ahead and continue to navigate the story as it unfolds. But as we move from WrestleMania, we're going to go ahead and speak about the innovator of WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who no longer is in talks with his daughter, Stephanie. And, of course, the game, Triple H. For some reason, this is happening. This story became known to us. Is it because of course, the whole lawsuit, the whole scandal, or is it just Vince McMahon once more being Vince McMahon?
It's twofold. It's Vince McMahon no longer having any control over the company that he took over and shepherded from his father and his father's father eventually. And also the fact that knowing that the board of directors pushed Vince out when the initial scandal started, when we first heard about all of the sexual harassment and all of the lawsuits that were coming down on Vince McMahon and the WWE, I think that the board thought about, we have to move Vince McMahon away from the board and get him away from the company so that they don't have the negativity of what he has bringing down the brand and bringing down stock prices. For these first two stories, a lot of it has everything to do with money. This one is one of those other things. And we all know Vince McMahon is very petty. We've seen Vince McMahon sign wrestlers from other competing promotions to turn them into jobbers because of his pettiness towards a particular promoter or a particular wrestler. So to think that he wouldn't do it to his own family, you'd have to be kidding yourself. So I think that's where a lot of this is coming from.
All right, Chris?
I mean, I'm not surprised. Listen, unless you're a garbage human being, how could you possibly come back from this and what he's been accused of? And if you believe this and you're Stephanie and Triple H, how could you even have words with this man? Like, what could you talk about? You know, knowing that he's capable of such actions. What is Vince going to call him? Go, hey, Stephanie. Yeah. Give me some of your friends, yeah.
He's basically Voldemort now. He's the man that cannot be named. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right. You think Vince still calls Laurinaitis? He's like, come on, Janet, let's go. And,
I was just on a date, and I just brought up your name. What are you talking about? You don't want to finish that conversation.
I mean, as much as we sit there and talk about it, he is a grandfather to their children, you know? And, you know, on top of that, now I'm starting to believe that Triple H going ahead and mentioning his name at the Hall of Fame was just in a sense of trying to go ahead and get the man to go ahead and talk to his grandkids. I don't know.
Maybe.
Who knows at this point, right? But
Johnny, people power here. Do you need me to get Nikki and Brie so you can crop on their head? Yeah, that's a great idea. Give me Nikki and Brie right now. Yeah. And then it'd be like,
here's the big Van Vader.
Remember Beyond the Mat? He's gonna shit. He's gonna shit. He's gonna shit. He's gonna shit.
Oh man, that's Vince for you. He brought this on himself because a lot of all of the negativity that has happened with the WWE, for all of the good things that he's done for the business and for the product, all of the negativity is all on Vince. There's no one else to point the finger at but him.
Married to the mother of Nikki and Brie. Did she divorce him after finding all this stuff out?
Oh yeah, they divorced.
They got divorced about a year ago.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure. Okay, I was gonna say any sane person should divorce. Okay.
Yes.
You know, obviously, if you go ahead and you're sleeping in bed with someone who craps on another person's side, I don't think it's okay, right? But it is what it is. We move from that to still in the world of WWE. Ladies and gentlemen, if you watched SmackDown last night, you would be preview to this. But if you're not, we'll go ahead and announce it for you. The Wyatt Six is back. They showed up towards the main event at the end of the show. And what fell on Bray Wyatt's, what would be his 38th birthday, 39th, I believe. The Wyatt Six are back. Peeps, do we hope and wish that they can actually be used in a sense where the stories work for them and where they can go ahead and also promote Bo Dallas more as Uncle Howdy and just continue stories with other individuals within the roster? Or is it going to be one of those things where they're just not used like they were on Raw?
One would hope so. I think this is going to sound kind of odd, but if this was Vince McMahon's WWE, he would have some kind of an idea of what to do with the Wyatt Six on a more regular basis. That would be part of it. I think Triple H has a very hot commodity with the Wyatt Six as far as the fan interaction and the fan attention and the media going towards them. The placement, I understand why they did it. As you just said, it was Bray Wyatt's birthday. And at the end of the segment, they brought in a birthday cake, which they blew out a candle. And that's when the show went off the air. But the placement of it was in the process of what kind of put a small stain on a really good WWE Tag Team Championship match between Fraxium and the Street Profits. And I think a lot of people, the way this match went, they gave them a solid 25 minutes to see where they would go, how on earth it would get to that point. And of course, we got the interference from between the Machine Guns and DIY to break it all up. And that's when the Wyatt Six came in. I would hope they figure out something with the Wyatt Six instead of bringing them in, or they're going to be gone. Remember, Alexa Bliss was supposed to be part of this deal, and then they kind of separated her completely from the Wyatts in general. So let's see where they go from there.
You're not wrong. Maybe that's why, by chance, they went ahead and added Candice LeRae to DIY from what we saw last night. So maybe they'll probably have their first run-in with the Wyatt Six by chance. That's
you
what
think the way is going to come back? Or you think, because it looks like Austin Theory, finally they're starting to work this split potentially. Do you see him coming home, or what do you see?
I don't feel there's a chance, because for me, I look at it as they're going to go ahead and push Austin Theory as a face. It seems like he's been getting so much interaction from the fans that they want to see him as a face. They want him to push away from Grayson Waller. And I see that if it comes down to that in the end, they're going to go ahead and push him as a major baby face. I mean, the kid has agility. He has wrestling sense. He knows how to tell a story within his wrestling from what we know, from what we've seen from him prior to even all of this. So in the end, I feel that they will go ahead and do what they have to do right with him when it comes down to him being a face, not as a heel. But we'll have to go ahead and wait and see what happens with that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Saturday afternoon's main event. Of course, I am the phenomenal one. Alongside me is, of course, the Peeps Nate. Christopher Morgan is having technical difficulties. He will be coming back in sooner rather than later. But we will be moving to the next topic here on Wrestling Crash Course. MJF is a part of the Hurt Syndicate, Peeps. He now hurts people.
Yes, a lot.
a lot, yes. How are we feeling about this?
They dragged this out as long as they possibly could. I think the Hurt Syndicate storyline, the angle that they've been doing with them, is probably the most entertaining part of AEW programming that I've seen in the last couple of months. And bringing them in and then winning the tag title and then establishing their dominance, and now having MJF come along and being part of the faction. But now we have to see what is his motivation for joining them. He's already talked about wanting to win the AEW World title again. See what happens. We'll find out where they go from there, because they had two lawyers. You know, you had Smart Mark there as a lawyer, and then another lawyer for the Hurt Syndicate, and they're going back and forth as to what they plan on doing. I like the interaction with all of the members in the Hurt Syndicate. Now it's a matter of where they go from here. Is this an evolution from what the Hurt Business used to be, from the Beatdown Clan to the Hurt Business to now the Hurt Syndicate? Or does this turn into the Pinnacle?
Indeed. We'll have to go ahead and wait and see. We have Robert Brown here, who said Lafayette, Indiana, and the building was popping, y'all. Just found y'all on the Random Pro. Welcome to Saturday afternoon's main event.
Yes.
Thanks for going ahead and tuning in on your Saturday afternoon with us, Mr. Brown. We hope that you're actually enjoying the show. Stay tuned for all the other wrestling news and other updates that we go ahead and give throughout the show. But we appreciate you for going ahead and coming through.
Let's give him a Christopher Morton hi. Hi.
But he says, how often we go live? Every Saturday afternoon, man. Hope you go ahead and want to go ahead and tune with us every Saturday afternoon, exactly at 12 o'clock. Uncle Triple C says, Mr. 401 just went lights out because y'all were talking AEW. Yeah, okay.
Wow.
We give you the benefit of the doubt, right? But
wow.
It's okay. But look, Chris is still trying to go ahead and come in. It seems like he's still having his technical difficulties, but actually, here he is, Chris.
Oh, there we go.
You can't make it up. I think
you never make it up.
You know who's behind this? Vince McMahon. Yeah.
You know, the crazy part is anytime we've talked about Vince McMahon, some sort of technical craziness, it's either Vince McMahon or Tony Khan. Something tends to happen technically.
Right? He says, you guys review AEW by chance? We do. Once it comes down to pay-per-views, once it comes down to anything special going on within the show, the ratings, we get down to everything, man.
Yes. We also have rants. We have epic rants on
epic
AEW.
rants coming from Mr. Christopher Morton himself. So trust me, you would enjoy it. Jadator says if the Knicks don't win the next game, it might just be Jesus. Are we really talking basketball today, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Knicks fans, I get it. But look, as you're here, Chris, as Peeps is here, this marks the end of Wrestling Crash Course. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you didn't catch any of the news, of course, if you want to go ahead and catch all the latest social media news and updates, all you got to do is one thing and one thing only. Follow us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons _main event. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at Saturday Main. And, of course, TikTok at Saturday Afternoons ME. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into the ratings before we get into our predictions for tomorrow night's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. So, Peeps, give us the ratings.
Yep. Okay, the ratings right now remember we talked about last week, AEW beating NXT in the ratings. Not so much this week. NXT reclaimed its ratings win by winning the week 697,000 with a 0.13 in the demo, where AEW shot under 600,000. They got to 575,000 with a 0.15.
Home show.
Yes, the go home show for Double or Nothing, and then Collision following the next night. That's not good at all.
Yeah, but Nate, you're forgetting again the 1.5 million watching on Max. Okay, so that's
of course
poor journalism on your.
It's up 1.5 million now. Okay, gotcha.
You know what? The AEW fan base, they're gonna paddle your ass. They're gonna roll your ass. They're gonna leave you naked and bleeding.
Go to Timbuktu. They'll leave you naked and bleeding with no money in Kathmandu.
Oh man. Well, look, from there, we're gonna go ahead and move into the predictions for tonight's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Tomorrow night's, of course.
Tomorrow night for Double or Nothing. Yeah, remember, we got Double or Nothing, Saturday night's main event, and Battleground all this weekend. It's insane, the stuff we got this weekend.
Good grief. Good.
Yeah, don't forget about the NBA playoffs. So it's hard to watch all this stuff. There's not enough time in the day to watch all this.
Yeah.
Well, if you are in New York, Indiana, Minnesota, or
invest in a DVR.
Yes, indeed. But from there. Jadator says Triple H, Peeps, Nate, Steel Cage, Nixon 7. You guys started today. Oh man.
Looking for blood.
From there, let's go ahead and get into these predictions real quick. We're gonna go ahead and skip the pre-show match, of course. First match, Jamie Hayter, Mercedes Moné, Owens Hart Foundation Cup Tournament final. As much as I just want to go ahead and say it, I wish this was the case, but we know that's not going to be the case. Pencil me in for Mercedes Moné.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, didn't they now come out recently and say she doesn't have creative control? Didn't people try to go, oh, well, she doesn't?
Yeah, I think that was the big argument over the last couple of weeks. So I
Right.
guess that was something she had to disprove or make known that was not the case.
She's gonna win.
Mercedes,
is not the same that she was before she went on hiatus.
yes, and she actually explained that she did an interview. Matter of fact, it was a promo with her and Mercedes, and she talked about the fact that she contemplated retiring because of how severe her injury was.
Oh, I didn't know the injury was severe, but why'd you come back with a different look? Your previous look was working.
Yes.
Why did you change how you look? Someone recently said she looks like a Cabbage Patch doll.
She's got the hair done. She's wearing a lot of plaid now. So, but yeah, I think a lot of people had that thought process. But now that she's back, it's not the same as would have been going into All In London. So I think a lot of people thought last year, if she wasn't hurt, would have been a big day for her to come back. So who do you have Mercedes winning, Chris?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
of course.
Listen, a lot of this card is garbage. We know who's going to win these matches.
Indeed. From there, we move to the next match. Of course, the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, alongside MVP and MJF, accompanying them against the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara.
Oh, can I do a little mini rant here?
Absolutely.
Go right on ahead.
I think you were going to say the same thing I'm probably going to say.
Maybe not. I'm sick of Dustin Rhodes. I'm so sorry. I'm sick of Dustin Rhodes. His promos are horrible. He has to curse now to sound cool. So he's the old man who wants to say son of a bitch and all these other phrases that he uses in his promo to come across as cool, okay? I think I said this before. I had a previous rant about him maybe a month or two or so ago. And it was like, okay, Goldust was a great character. Dustin Rhodes has never been over. He's not over now. There's no one believing that Dustin Rhodes is any good at what he's doing. They're just putting him in this position. He's in this position for what reason? I don't know. Because of his name? That's about it. Well, I don't care about this match. I wish there was a shoot and they would hurt him for real. I'm just sick. And I'm sorry to say this because that sounds horrible. But I don't want to see Dustin Rhodes on my TV in 2025. It's not good. It's cringe, actually. His promos are cringe.
I don't blame you. But look, for me, give me the Hurt Syndicate. I think we know where this is going.
Wait, what were you going to say? You said you were going to say something.
For me, the one thing that I kind of hate about AEW currently right now, when it comes down to the way that they position and make wrestlers look, you know, the professionality of it. When you look at like the Hurt Syndicate, what do they look like to you? $1 million, right?
Right.
Yes.
They look believable. You sit there and you look at them and they're like, okay, you know what? These guys are top notch. These guys are tag team champions for a reason. But then you go ahead and look at the Sons of Texas, or you look at, you know, another team who might try to go ahead and size up against them. And you sit there and you
Outrunners.
The
Outrunners. There you go.
It's perfect. You see the Outrunners going ahead and sizing up against them, and then you're like, these guys look tacky. These guys don't go ahead and fit the description of people who look believable to go ahead and take the titles off of them. Where is the professionalism of it? You know, I think AEW needs to do a better job of going ahead and displaying these individuals against other people if you want to go ahead and make us, the consumer, the fans of professional wrestling, make it believable for us to go ahead and sit there and be like, oh, these guys can definitely go ahead and size up against them. Because if not, where does that take us? What does that do?
And to your point, outside of FTR, it would only take a makeshift tag team. 2 stars come together, whether they become face or heel, who knows what the future of the Hurt Syndicate is. But that would only happen. That would be the only scenario in which they lose. There's no tag team right now in the company outside of FTR that would beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I think that's my only gripe with them currently. When it comes to the tag team division. And also, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, singles competition as well. If you want to make it believable for us, make them look professional. Just at least, please.
Yes.
But I think we all got the syndicate here.
Of course.
Next match, of course, Mina Shikawa versus Timeless Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. I think because we know who's going to be winning the Owen Hart Foundation Cup tournament. I think we know where this is going. All in, Toni Storm, Mercedes Moné, AEW Women's World Title. So give me Toni Storm here to win this match.
There you go.
Yeah, TNA right here. That's what this match is. TNA.
She's gonna rip her tits. Let me stop. Okay.
Right? No, I mean, listen, it wasn't on live TV, so why can't we say it? I mean,
good grief.
And listen, you know, Mina, I'm free weekends for lap dances. By the way, hit me up.
And
Mina.
let's hope also by the time that this pay-per-view gets to where it's supposed to, AEW can get their production fixed. For those that watched Collision last week, that wanted to watch Collision and lost the last half hour of the show to, of all things, Black Adam.
Black Adam, the worst movie ever made.
Oh man, you couldn't make that up.
You can't. I saw memes on Twitter talking about The Rock literally just sitting there, and he was like, and I was like to TNT, hey, take him off the air and put Black Adam in. I need more ratings on my movies.
TKO made the call. TKO.
Oh man.
So what, you guys think they're gonna go ahead and pull a WCW tomorrow night and just end it on the main event and just literally cut off?
And then just show the main event on Dynamite.
You know, the best is if Saturday night's main event was going head to head with Double or Nothing. All of a sudden, you're watching Double or Nothing, and it just switches to Saturday's main event. You're like, wait, what?
Oh man,
wow.
Who writes this stuff, man?
Good grief! From free TV to a pay-per-view, back and forth. Wow, that's crazy.
Exactly, oh man. But look, we have five more matches here. We're gonna go ahead and get to the next one real quick. FTR versus Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. Nigel McGuinness's first match back in a while. Since I believe facing Danielson.
We know who's going to win this too. Again, what did I say at the top? This is all predictable garbage, okay? Daniel Garcia, as much as they've tried, it doesn't work. His promos are more cringe than Dustin Rhodes. He has no bass in his voice. He sounds like a typical indie guy. Listen, I'm not the only one saying it. Everyone on the online is saying it. Daniel Garcia is a curtain jerker. That's it. He's never going to be anything more than that.
I don't even get to get called a curtain jerker anymore, ladies and gentlemen. This is how bad this is getting. So you can obviously see. But, okay.
You have to be the most diehard AEW fan and the biggest mark on the planet, which many of them are, their core audience, to believe Daniel Garcia is anything more than that. Because he's not. You're lying to yourself if you believe he is.
You got a point. From there, stretcher match. Mark Briscoe, Ricochet. As much as this is going to tell me,
talk about a weird matchup, but I'm thinking because it's on this pay-per-view, I'm thinking after what Ricochet has been doing on TV to the likes of Zach Gowen or other people, I would not be surprised if Ricochet ended up losing this match just for the feel-good vibes of what goes on.
Winning.
Yeah, Ricochet has to win this.
Yes.
They're not doing anything with Briscoe. Briscoe's going nowhere.
Oh, I agree. But I'm thinking of the mindset of what Tony Khan would want to do based on the fans that are there and based on what they have been doing.
No, this would just be booking like embarrassment. This would be the worst because you're not. What are they going to do with Mark Briscoe? Nothing.
Of course, we know that. Yeah.
But look, like I said, pencil me in for Ricochet. We'll go ahead and get to the Anarchy in the Arena match towards the end because I think we all know that this is going to be ending the show anyways. But
actually, it's not. They've already stated that the main event of the show is going to be Paige and Will Ospreay. Matter of fact, at the beginning of their promo, they politic kind of. Let's see if Tony Khan is looking. And they made that match the main event of the show.
Let's hope, because the last time they said something was the main event of the show, peeps, we saw what we got for Double or Nothing last year. That's why I'm genuinely just like, oh, you know what? Let's just wait and see genuinely. But
wait, we should bet. We should take friendly bets on how long the show is going to be because, wasn't the last show over 4.5, almost 4.5 hours? Didn't it go over?
This is gonna go over 4.5.
I mean, the show did. I believe the last one didn't end until like 12:35 ish.
Yeah, got Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, they cut the feed just halfway through the main event. So
Yup. So for me, I sit there and I see 12:30 at most.
Yes.
Look, when it comes down to this match, Kaz Okada speedball Mike Bailey. Once more, presentation. I think we all know where this is going. Give me Kaz Okada to win this match.
Yes.
No, I mean, listen, Mike Bailey. I mean, again, you have to be the diehard internet indie-minded Mark to think a 160-pound guy should even be in the ring with Kazuchika Okada. Yeah.
Kazuchika Okada. There you go. Bless you.
I mean, it's a joke. Mike Bailey is like, what is there? Why do people like this guy? He's so vanilla. He's ugh.
He has had good matches. It's just that when you put him in the ring with other guys, you start to see the difference in the body form, the physique, what other people look at as what would be presentable as a wrestler. Now, I'm still on record as saying just a couple of years ago, he had a TNA match of the year against Will Ospreay. If you remember, it was on TNA television that Ospreay was on it during the time before he signed with AEW. And that was a really good match. He can have those kinds of matches. The issue is there enough polish on him for the mainstream to really like him? Or as Chris has kind of alluded to, he still has a lot of Indian.
No, that's the problem. There's not a lot to like of him if you're a casual fan. A casual fan looks at this guy and sees he's a 160-pound midget. The diehard Mark only likes this guy. That's it. That's all he appeals to. He's
right.
And again, he's another one of these pseudo gymnasts, right, with karate background. Does he actually wrestle a match, or does he just perform moves? He's just a move guy. A lot of these AEW guys aren't wrestlers; they're just move guys. They learn moves.
You're not wrong. When it comes to this trios match next, the Paragon versus the Don Callis family.
Oh God.
I hear the enthusiasm in Chris's voice.
I feel the same way. Adam Cole is the TNT champion.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he
what has
have
he done? Wait. Has he defended his title once? How long has he
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Why is he not in a bigger high-profile situation? It's Adam Cole. He has... You can argue that he has rehabilitated his career, right, by being a TNT champion. He even looks like he's gained, although minimal, a little bit of size. He's not as tiny as he was a year ago or so. But when you put him in these junk matches that Tony Khan whacks off to in the back, because he has to have these 8-man, 12-man, 16-man matches where no one cares. You get lost watching this. You don't want to see it. You know why you get lost seeing this? Because it happens over and over and over again. These get a feud, build something with Adam Cole and anyone in the company, and we'll care more.
Especially after they did a great job building Kyle Fletcher up from what he was when he first made the heel turn into what he is right now. So this is, I think, beneath some of the wrestlers that are already here.
Exactly. For me, I go ahead and look at this match, and I look at the Mark Briscoe Ricochet stretcher match, and I'm like, so why wouldn't you have a high-profile match happen against Ricochet and Adam Cole? The two can go. Have we not remembered their NXT matches? I'm just
phenomenal one. Even Fletcher against Adam Cole would be a. What are we watching here?
What type of sorcery and what type of coke is Tony Khan's story? Let me stop.
There's some good coke. Must be.
It has to be some good coke. Jeez.
I think we all collectively digress on that one.
Yes, we do.
The collective, I digress.
But I feel as if we want to get something rolling, if you want to make Adam Cole look like a believable champion, if you want to have the Paragon look like a believable group, I would give this match to the Paragon. So give me the Paragon to win this match.
All they could have done was do what I had suggested about a year ago and just get the top 3 contenders, show them on TV, have different matches, maybe with Collision to see who's going to get a title shot at some point, or do what they've done with other championships and have a TNT championship challenge where he's defending the TNT title every week to then see who's good enough to get a title shot instead of these eliminator matches, what they seem to do a lot of, where the challenger beats the champ and then they get a title shot down the road.
Well, I'm so sick of these eliminator matches. I know we didn't really speak on the match too much earlier, but didn't Mina already lose to Toni Storm? Didn't they do this already?
Yes, I
Am I
believe
wrong?
so.
Did
Yes.
they not do that already? And then
Yes,
Toni
they
Storm
did.
had a record, didn't she? Had won like 12. Was she 12-0 in those eliminator matches? Why
Yes.
is your champion in these worthless matches? It should be a 3-way to determine who faces your champion.
Yes.
And by the way, I'm sick of 3-ways. Also, WWE's dropping the ball on this, so they're not absolved either from here. I hate these 3-way matches that we're getting. What is this? What tournament's coming up? What was it for Money in the Bank? Right?
Yes. Those are the qualifying matches. Yes.
Qualifying matches. I can't. Again, first time viewers, we beat this to death. I hate these 3-way matches.
Not wrong.
Especially if there's no logic in behind why they're in them. It's one thing if there's a tournament or something like that. Okay, maybe. But they happen way too often to give any value to the match when they actually do have the match.
Exactly.
Triple H has a little bit of Tony Khan in him. Let's be honest. There's a little bit going on there.
A lot of lazy booking there too. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But from there, we move to the Anarchy in the Arena match. Of course, Omega, Swerve, Nightingale, Joe, Hobbs, Shibata versus, of course, the Death Riders, Moxley, Castagnoli, Shafir, Yuta, the Young Bucks.
You forgot Hornswoggle. Isn't Hornswoggle in this thing?
I think he's the referee. Oh, man.
We know Gabe Kidd's going to show up sometime somewhere within this match. I have a feeling. I have a hunch.
Oh, he's the latest indie darling, by the way. You guys are privy to that, right? He's the latest indie darling. Everyone wants to crown
It's
as
what,
the greatest.
Wrestle Kingdom this year?
Yeah, well, he was part of the Bullet Club. So, I mean, I've watched enough of Gabe Kidd's matches to see that he can go. Let's just see if he can kind of connect with the mainstream fan. As Chris has brought up many times before, it just doesn't really happen.
Nate, we never dispute these guys can't go. Okay, there's a lot of great workers in this company. They just have nothing after that. There's no layer to them.
The way that they explain him in, well, wait a minute, they didn't explain him in, so that makes that's part of the problem. They don't.
He's also one of these chop guys. They have to chop each other 500 times in a match, and they think that works. It doesn't. It doesn't work when you see it over and over and over again.
Yes. And even Ric Flair talked about that on a podcast not that long ago. He said that when I would chop somebody, I wouldn't chop them for the duration of the match. There were times when I would work. I'm working the leg. I'm working the outside. I'm working the crowd. And then if I'm weakening them up a little bit, then I give them a couple chops. He didn't chop for the entire match until like later on in his career.
Did you guys hear the Dominic Mysterio quote? They were asking him about matches and putting them together. And it was, I don't know if it was an indirect shot at AEW. It could have been just at anyone in general, because WWE guys are guilty of this as well. He talked about how if I'm going to do a certain move, whether it's a high flying move, I forget the specific move he mentioned, and I do it all the time, why does it mean anything? But when I do it once and people go, wow, look at that move, well, then it resonates. And it means more if I do it once versus doing it every single match.
Yes.
That's a young guy.
Which is kind of what MJF says.
Dominic Mysterio is a young guy in his business. Now, granted, he learned from dad, okay, so he understands the business more than your average guy. But still, more guys need that mindset, especially in this company we're talking about right now. Most of them don't have it.
Yes.
I mean, you guys got to understand, the man is a 20-plus year vet. What a champion! But from there, we move to the last match here on this show. Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament final. Winner earns an AEW World Title match at All in Texas.
We know who's going to win.
Give me Will Ospreay.
We know who's going to win.
Give me Will Ospreay.
How is he not going to win this?
That's exactly. So it's, you notice I don't go ahead and go fully in depth with this. Give me Will Ospreay.
Yes.
Guys, did you hear this? You know what somebody on the internet called Hangman? They called him Magnum LBGTQTA.
Wow. Wow.
I heard this the other day. I was on the phone.
It's funny because early within his career with AEW, I saw somebody call him Magnum IPA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jesus. Oh man. Uncle Triple C chimes in. He says Dominic Mysterio is a 20-year vet, the greatest intercontinental heavyweight champion. You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. We said that for you, man. Great to see that you're still chiming in. You're still watching, bud. But from there, ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of our predictions for AEW Double or Nothing. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and get into our questions. And then, of course, our predictions for tonight's Saturday night's main event, premium live event. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere because the second half of Saturday afternoon's main event is coming up next. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the second half of Saturday afternoon's main event. Of course, it is I, the phenomenal one, alongside me is the Peeps Nate. Right down below is, of course, the one Christopher Morton.
He came in like a game show host. And here's Chris.
You don't notice it, yo, Tony Khan sent him a stash and he was just taking it. It's okay. We understand. We get it.
Over under. Gentlemen, over under. How many times does Will Ospreay get dropped on his neck tomorrow night?
5.
Well, if it's 4, we know you won't watch the show. Watch the match.
3. I turn it off at 3.
Over under is 5. I give it 5.
That's right, bro.
That's right. That's right, bro. Whatever, bro. Another level, bro.
Oh man, but look,
he sounds like he chews glass. He sounds like he chews glass, right?
Oh boy.
More questions here on Saturday afternoon's main event. You know this is a great part of our show. You want to be a part of that action, all you got to do is one thing only. DM us on Instagram at Saturday afternoons _ main event. Send in a question in the words of the wrestling god, WWE Hall of Famer JBL. I guarantee will be on the next episode of the show. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get the first one in from Master Sean 007. He says, greetings, gentlemen. With the WWE taking over numerous wrestling companies, I feel like everything will become too structured. Like everything has to be done to WWE or else it's going to be considered not a good product. Your thoughts? Peeps.
Well, I think that Triple H's idea is like that. And the reason why is the current acquisition of AAA. We know years ago, Triple H was trying to spearhead getting NXT to expand by doing an NXT Europe after he dissolved NXT UK, by taking a lot of those talents and bringing them to America and then kind of putting them into the main NXT roster. And then wanting to then float out there, he was thinking about doing an NXT Japan and NXT Europe and so on and so forth.
NXT
I think. But if you think about it like this, the territory days is what a lot of people have a lot of fondness for, and I'm sure Triple H does because he is a student of the wrestling game and he liked the territories format as well. So I think that if you're going to be bringing in talent that is going to be showcased further, why not acquire as many promotions as you can? And we know that the AAA organization is going to be doing a premium live event with NXT. So that's one way of doing it. And then you start to use them as a feeder system for the main roster. So I think that's what the WWE is going to be doing. So if that's the end game of where they're going, I think that's probably what their blueprint is for going forward. And I would not be surprised if they do it with other promotions. You know, we know Evolve is there. We know what they're doing with other promotions that they're looking into. So it's something that I think that they're going for right now.
Absolutely. I want to say hello to the person that just said hello to us. Hi.
Yeah, I was just about to tell you to go ahead and hit the hi guys. The Wolfie 776 chimed in. He says hello. Hey man.
Yes.
You got the perfect salute from Christopher Morton, Mr. 411.
I wish in a perfect world this will never happen. And now that Natalia has worked the NWA, if Triple H could somehow, I don't want to say purchase because it's overdone, but who knows, right? And then just start the territories again. Could you imagine If there was a WWE Florida, a WWE Georgia, a WWE, right? I mean, how sick would that be?
Oh, you're telling me he just restarts the National Wrestling Alliance?
Yeah, the whole thing all over again.
Yes.
But again, it won't happen. This is wishful thinking.
Yeah, Jimmy Corgan would lose his crap. Although they're both Republicans. So I mean, hey, something would work, right? Yo, let's tie it.
Definitely work. It would work, okay? Because I would be in charge of it, and I would be the best booker ever. Okay, thank you.
Wolfie 776, he says, looks like Roman versus Rock is not happening next WrestleMania. But we're never getting this match, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just make this clear. We're not getting this match. It's not happening. We look. I've had enough.
No, it's so disappointing.
Especially since Roman has gotten the acting bug again, and he's supposed to be going and doing. They're doing another adaptation of a video game, Street Fighter movie, and apparently Roman Reigns, from what I've been reading, may play Akuma. So if that's the case.
Let's be fair here. People talk about his Hollywood career. That's also the only role he's getting offered right now. What else has he done?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you guys think it will never happen? Look, best case scenario is next year. We've been waiting for this match since WrestleMania 39. That was the most perfect place you could have had it. Instead, we didn't get that. Things fell through. Rock said, that's not going to work for me, brother. Then next year, he chooses to want to go ahead and have the match then. Of course, the crowd pivots. We want Cody movement happens. And then next thing you know, he's like, all right, cool. We'll maybe just go ahead and set this up for next year. And literally, once Raw on Netflix is about to happen, he pivots and says he won't be able to work this year's WrestleMania. And we don't get it. It's never happened. It's not going to happen. Especially the way that my co-host, the Peep Snakes, just said that there's a good chance Roman Reigns is about to start next to Jason Momoa in the next Street Fighter movie. Roman Reigns is this close to going Hollywood. We've heard from Roman Reigns prior, especially at the Hall of Fame. When you don't see the wise man next to me is the moment you don't see me. So look, best case scenario, Roman's contract is almost up. He's already made enough money to go ahead and sit there and be like, look, I'm going to go ahead and relax for the rest of my time being. I don't need to wrestle anymore, especially underlying health conditions due to the fact that he was previously battling leukemia and he is still on meds for that. I think he wants to relax. Genuinely, this isn't going to happen anytime soon.
Yes.
Hot Rod says, know your damn role and shut your mouth, drunken C. Good grief. You guys really have to be together.
Wow.
Oh, jeez. Here we go. But look, speaking of Hot Rod 316, he went ahead and sent this question in earlier today. He says, WWE canceled their show, the NXT show in Tampa that was supposed to take place next week. Is there trouble looming for NXT? Chris, we'll let you answer this question.
I learned about this the other day. Why would people suggest trouble? Nate, why would you think they're in trouble?
I don't know if it's trouble as much as it is wrestling fatigue. This is literally what we talked about during WrestleMania weekend, where the fans for an entire weekend have the SmackDown, then you had Stand and Deliver, you had WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2, then you had Raw, and then you had NXT. This whole weekend is supposed to be in Tampa. And starting with the Saturday night's main event show, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, you have that. Then you have Battleground, which is on Sunday. Monday is going to be in Tampa as well. They were going to do that for NXT, but when they talked about selling the building, I believe the building that they're in could hold about close to 10,000. They only sold 17% of the tickets there. And I think the thought process is, if you're going to have NXT show up, even though they have a smaller venue weekly, it would not look good on camera to have a smaller venue for an NXT show. So they decided, let's cancel that show and let's get them back into the Performance Center for what they were doing the night after or 2 nights after their premium live event. So I think that's what it comes down to. I don't think it's trouble with NXT.
The bottom line is they are trying to be a little ambitious and going to bigger buildings, and clearly it's not working. And so they're going to just take a step back and go to what they're doing. It's not like they're in trouble.
Yes.
Not like that. But look, from there we get to the last question here. It was a live question sent in by Generator Productions. He says, if you had $1 million, you could go to any wrestling event in the past. Which event are you choosing?
WrestleMania 6. I think some people would say WrestleMania 20, right? Hogan Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's 18. That was 18.
18.
That was 18.
20. No, WrestleMania 20 is also great.
Oh,
Yeah, 20 at the Garden, because I was there. That was
20.
that was a really good one. Yes.
20 would be one for me. 28 would be another one. 3, genuinely speaking.
3 and 6, right?
Yeah.
3 and 6, yes. Possibly if it came down to it, I would say also possibly maybe 15 and 17. Those would be the two. Those would genuinely be the two. But that was a good question, J Data Productions. And from that marks the end of the questions here on Saturday afternoon's main event. Thank you guys for going ahead and sending in those questions. Once more, you want to go ahead and send in more questions for next week's show, all you got to do is one thing only. DM us on Instagram at Saturday afternoons_main event. Send in the question and it will be featured on the next episode of the show. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, look, we've gotten to the last part of our show today. And this is going to be our predictions for tonight's Saturday night's main event. Episode 39, actually. My bad, guys. But look, we have 5 matches. Let's run through this quickly. Jey Uso, Logan Paul, World Heavyweight title. We got Jey Uso, right?
Of course. Yes.
Wait. Let's talk about how they do the finish here, because that's what's going to be the big deal. Jey Uso's not going to win clean. So the question is, and I've often pitched this idea, is Logan Paul's crew, or whatever you want to call them, his entourage, cost him a match finally, because so far they've only helped him win. So how do you beat Logan Paul? That's probably the best way to do it, right?
Yeah. Well, I Show Speed or somebody else coming down there to help him out and botching it up. Yeah,
messing it up. Genuinely, I think that's the best way.
Or at some point, do we see some sort of interference with maybe Walter at some point, maybe making his presence known? Do we have Paul Heyman's crew trying to get into the ear of Jey Uso, knowing that they want that championship for themselves? Do they kind of show an imprint in this match? Not to say interfere, but to make their presence known.
Well, match placement, it depends which match goes first, because they're already on the card, right?
Yeah.
That'll be it. Before we move to the next match, the Wolfie says, if Vince was still in the company, do you think the situation would happen about next WrestleMania in the current state of the WWE? We've spoken about this early within our show, and we had said that had Vince been here, none of this would have ever happened. At all.
Nope.
No way, shape, or form. He always believed in going ahead and making sure that this was it. If something was set, it was set in stone.
Yes.
No way, shape, or form. TKO is just money grabbing, man. That's how we feel.
Of course.
Look, CM Punk and Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. When it comes to CM Punk, when it comes to Seth Rollins, and when it comes to matches against those two, I think I've always been right within my predictions. This is another prediction I'm going to make for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Sami Zayn is turning on CM Punk. You've heard it here first.
Okay.
I like that.
That's good.
Who's that third man? Seth Rollins has always said he has a trick up his sleeve, right? I'm thinking far ahead. I'm thinking War Games. I'm thinking San Diego. I'm thinking Survivor Series. You want to have a match against all those gentlemen? Have Sami Zayn be that third man for Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. I think Sami needs a revitalization of his career in a sense, after the whole bloodline stuff, after winning the Intercontinental title off of Gunther last year's WrestleMania. This year, he hasn't really had much to work with. So for me, give me Sami Zayn to go ahead and be in this whole thing with Rollins and Breaker, and have CM Punk still have a reason to want to clap back at him.
While I like your idea, let me ask you this question. Is it a missed opportunity if he turns tonight where he could also turn against Jey Uso? Which is better?
I think the more impactful turn is against Jey Uso, but the better long-term story is him going turning on Punk and helping Heyman's group.
You're right.
Depends on what the priority would be if there is a turn.
Exactly. That's what it all comes down to. But yeah, for me, I would sit there and say that Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker are going to be winning this match regardless.
Oh yeah, without question.
From there, steel cage match, Priest, McIntyre. Give me Priest to win this match. I feel that after WrestleMania, that match against Drew, they went ahead and put on a show. That was a pretty good match. I feel that Damian Priest needs this more than Drew needs this. They need a revitalization. They need something to go ahead and go off of this, because I felt that the match that would have went ahead and kind of like, settled the feud or at least evened it would have been at Backlash. But of course, we didn't get that. We got those two alongside Fatu and Knight in a fatal four-way for the United States title. This singles match, I feel that Priest needs this. So give it to Priest.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it like becoming now a back and forth where one wins, the other wins? Because Priest cannot lose this, or else he's essentially buried in so many ways, right?
Exactly.
I mean, he can't lose. But in terms of pushing a guy towards the title picture, McIntyre is more viable.
Yeah.
So do you then want to?
But with them being on SmackDown, and knowing that John Cena isn't going to be losing the WWE title anytime soon, I see Drew McIntyre as one of those guys who would be on Team Cena when it comes down to Survivor Series. So I look at it as Drew possibly going ahead and losing this match to further his sense of wanting to go ahead and take over the company or wanting to be a dominant heel. So that's why I would say give it to Damian Priest in a sense.
And he can draw out the pity party victimhood angle that he's been going on if he loses. You see, this is what I tried to tell you. These are the kinds of things that happen. He can continue to do that until his next feud. So
exactly. Next match, Zelina Vega, Chelsea Green singles match for the United States Women's Championship. I don't know if it's just me, guys, but I've been having the feeling that, Zelina Vega hasn't been as prominent as the United States Champion compared to Chelsea Green. I don't see that she would lose the title right here. But it does go ahead and kind of stain when you have Julia go ahead and pin the United States Champion literally the night before she has a match against Chelsea Green in her debut.
Wait, what? That happened?
That happened last night. Julia.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
It's okay.
part of the qualifying matches for the Money in the Bank.
Okay, so unrelated to the title, it was a non-title
Yes.
match.
Unrelated to the title, yes.
Vegas should win this. Vegas should win this match without question. I don't see Chelsea Green winning this belt right now.
Well, let's think about the way they've turned the women's titles. Remember the tag team titles, the way it turned at WrestleMania, and then the next night on Raw, they won it back. So I think the way they're booking these matches right now, anything is possible tonight. I could see Chelsea Green regaining that title.
Okay, and of course, the regular singles match that we all been talking about, this should be the end of the show. Cena, R-Truth. Guys, I just have to go ahead and say this. In the words of Jacob Fatu, John Cena's about to dog walk his ass, okay?
I'm not even convinced that that's the main event of the show. I wouldn't be surprised if they started the show with this match and made the Braun Breaker tag team match the end of the show.
Here's why I say it's going to be the end of the show. Can you imagine John Cena laying waste to R-Truth after the match? And in Dusty Country, Cody comes back.
Oh, okay.
I like that.
That's what I'm thinking. That's genuinely the reason I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking. I think now's the chance that we finally get to see Cody come back. And what better way to go ahead and get a bigger pop than in the city where his dad was out here going ahead and putting butts in seats. It works. It genuinely works.
That's right, baby. The American Three inducted rules, if you will.
Bullet of Woods, if you will, to my public.
Good grief. But ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of our predictions. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end to today's Saturday afternoon's main event. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for going ahead and tuning in with us and sitting around for this hour and 10 minutes. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the love. Go ahead and join us next week for our review of both shows that we went ahead and gave predictions to today. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate everything that you guys do. Follow us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons_main event. Follow us on Twitter at Saturday Main. And of course, follow us on TikTok at Saturday Afternoons ME. But it is with that here on Saturday Afternoons Main Event that I, the phenomenal one.
And I, the peeps Nate.
And I, Mr. 411.
Yes, where we came.
We saw.
And in the words of the great Paul Heyman.
Send them home, peeps.
We conquered.
We conquered, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week for episode 23. Of course, the phenomenal one, Peeps Nate, Christopher Morton. This was Same. Peace, love, and farewell. Peace.